name is Teresita Blanco, the Artsy sister, and today we're reading Saturnastra, Monkey King. This is Chapter 5, Part 1. The fishes below the ocean fled in terror as the icy coldness touched the water, and in no time the ship and other humans had frozen within it. And when all was said and done, Lord Ella was mighty impressed by King's progress, and he asked him, "So why all of those little skirmishes?" "I was standing in the chin looking for any chink in his armor, and it was then when I remembered the starfishes, and then I had my answer," said King. "I don't understand what's this nonsense about starfishes, and care to explain, Lydia?" said Lord Ayla very happily. Lydia thought a moment, and then she said, "Starfishes are a type of fish shaped like a star." "I could have told you that," said Ayla, rolling his eyes, and he added, "If you don't know, just admit it. There's no shame in not having the answers to everything. So what happens now?" "That depends on you, and you still have to pay for damages and help supply the communities who were destroyed because of you," started said King when Lord Ayla interrupted him. "That was my high priest Rodan's doing, not my own. The way I see it, if a dog bites another person, then the owner's to blame. And whatever your soldiers do is your responsibility. Never forget that, my lord," said King, smiling. "Rodan was my regent, sir, which makes him my equal and my elder, and I like the opportunity to boss him around," said Lord Ayla sadly. "You have to grow up sometime, and besides, I never had a problem bossing around my elders, and they think that they know everything. And even when they are neck deep in troubles, and they still insist in taking control," said King, fidgety. Changing the subject, Lord Ayla said, "For now, we could use your help in reconstructing the city and our navy." "Sure, but you will have to supply the raw materials, and don't think on paying us like a run-of-the-mill day laborer. And don't forget, if you get cheap on me again, I will dethrone you for real," said King, laughing. Lord Ayla too laughed, not certain if Monkey King was serious or not. And after having his short discussion, King and his 30 men set about reconstructing the city. And Monkey King was a working king in this regard, and he was not about doing manual labor. And following his example, a few of the more athletic nobles of the city tried their hands on reconstruction work as well. Of the houses damaged, about half of them were salvageable, and those made of humble wood and other materials were torn down, and other buildings were removed altogether to let in more light. And the reconstruction projects were slow, and to help speed up the progress, he called upon his seafaring asset, and Lord Ayla and the other citizens were forced to swallow their pride when King contacted pirates and asked them for their help in rebuilding the city. And it seemed to Lord Ayla that his coffers were quickly being depleted. And in fact, King was giving them an easy time by not charging them for the food that he offered, and in exchange for gold and other luxury items. And like King had expected, Lord Ayla eventually set them on their way, and King offered them a trading contract with him, but Lord Ayla refused to deal with people who were in friendly terms with pirates. And since Lord Ayla was not going to continue paying, King went over his head and he started dealing with the other cities and towns within his territory, and those who were struck by the tsunami only needed to use their eyes to realize the origin point of such an attack. And they were naturally bitter and wanted revenge against Lord Ayla. And it took much cunning and negotiation to convince the affected cities not to seek revenge. After hammering the reasons behind the disaster for half a year, the citizens were eventually satisfied when they heard that the new high priest Rodan had been publicly executed for his crimes against the kingdom. And Lord Ayla had sacrificed his mentor for the sake of maintaining peace. Still, a number of his border islands had left the kingdom and were publicly making deals with King's pirate contracts, and others dealt with their spite in a less brazen manner by trading with the Nages. And trading with the Nages was always a difficult task, and aside from the fiscal limitations, as of late the Nages were refusing to trade with torturers, and how the Nages kept tabs on your soldiers was a matter of much debate. But Allah suspected telepathy. King lingered till fall in the Sea Dragon archipelagos, and his idle measures were salvaging the Iron ships, and one was even summoned to Dokai for further study, and he spent most of his time in a Nages study in the port of Sorola, and of other towns this one had suffered the largest casualty, with 5,000 of its citizens dying because Sokol's little tsunami spell. And Sorola had officially declared its independence of the capital and had purchased 20 Navy ships from the Nages. And this town was ruled by a council of 10 nobles, and the most important of the patricians was a bitter old man named Aurelius du Fleuront. and he had lost half his descent in the war and the other half during the tsunami. And at the time he had been making deals further inland, and he had insisted that his family stay in Sorolla because of the mainland had grown too dangerous, and needless to say, he was not enjoying the cruel irony of the situation. Like, he had kept his folks in his little island, saying that they were safer than being in the mainland, but then a tsunami came and they all drowned. And in order to prevent another disaster, the town of Sorolla was also building a seawall. Of his descent, Aurelius only had 2 young granddaughters left, and the girls had survived thanks to the quick sinking of the Nana that had carried them to the roof after the first floor had flooded, and others had not been too quick on the uptake. And Quinn was staying in the newly repaired mansion of Aurelius, and at first he had offered the best room in his house, and instead King chose a small room in the tower of the manor. And the mansion had a small ornamental tower with a dandy spiral staircase, and Aurelius would have liked to come out to the roof to read, and the rooms inside were a bit small in comparison to the rest of the house. However, the windows were open at the 4 cardinal points, and this afforded a nice view of all of the surrounding town and the sea as well. When not handling official business, King spent his time studying the ampules, and the 2 new ones were just as mysterious as the first ones he had acquired. One of them he was using now as a lamp. It emanated a strong white light when the sun went down, and at other times it flashed steamy blue sparkles. And the other people inside the mansion would ask to see this ampule whenever it was acting up. You know, like the weird jar of preserves that has like a creature inside of it, and nobody knows what it is. Yeah. And they just see strange effect, luminescence and whatnot. It wasn't too awe-inspiring, but it was a curiosity nonetheless, and King one day started charging people a small fee to look upon it. And the other 2 did not do anything in particular, and there was one which changed temperature from time to time, while the others did not have any noticeable changes. And it was this one which enthralled King the most. One day he decided to crack the top to see if something would pop out, and he decided to open the one that seemed utterly dead, and he took the ampule to the top of the tower, and the warm rays of the sun were shining down upon him, and he had forgotten the side ampule he had taken with him from the other night, and the ampule seemed fidgety as soon as King appeared, and the flowing pulsating blue and black colors seemed hostile to King, and feeling sorry for it, he went back down and he came back with a blanket, and after wrapping the ampule, the color changed to an opaque red. And King made a motion towards the ampule he wanted to open with a knife, and this one was the smallest of the 5, and it was as large as a wine bottle, and he started to smack the top with it, but the claws were far stronger than he had first suspected, and he looked left and right, and then he took out a knife whose sharp tip was made with technology forbidden in the world, and they could only be used when none of the locals were looking. Time, bro?
15 minutos.
Before he could take a good whack at it, the other ampule started glowing with a milky red with an azure light in the center, and it reminded King of a nebula. And taking the other ampule, he placed it beside his larger companion, and once they were together, the larger ampule settled down and returned to shine with a reddish tint, and for the following days, King made attempts to communicate with the creatures inside the ampules. And he placed them all together to observe how they interacted with one another, and instead of having homogeneous reactions to their surroundings, the ampules together were always lively, and King still did not know what to make of them or what they were. And a month passed, and with it came the first of the hailing rains, and the leaves in the forest near the town had turned brown, and he was walking Aurelius' black terrier through the port, and all around him the people of Sorolla and his Nages were rebuilding, and at the rate they were going, the town was expected to be back to normal minus the 5,000 people that had drowned. And since Sokol was not making any attempts to clean their messes, King had tapped into his pirate contract, and the vault had been empty, and the pirates had taken the support beam columns of the castle, and they had also taken Sokol's core mages Lydia, Cassandra, and Agitia, and Catherine, and the 4 maidens were practitioners of white magic and followers of the Labian religion, and they had not put in much of an effort in keeping the pirates out, and the way Lord Ella had executed his vigilant mentor had caused them to fall into their favor, not being exactly loyal to Sokol, the mages had taken the chance to leave the city for good when the opportunity presented itself. And the pirates were mermen and a bit of a rowdy bunch, and none had lifted a finger to harm the mages, and most of them just stoically ignored them, because magic uses were not a novelty to them, and the mages were more at ease among them than among the traditional courts of Sokol. And as with most cities, even while magic was considered evil, and by alienating their mages, Sokol had failed to earn the maiden's loyalty. He was expecting to receive them in Aurelia's mansion as soon as he returned from his walk, and he was extending his walk to all corners of the city because he hated playing the role of host to people he did not know, and thus came and weathered a frigid wind from the ocean, and the palm trees and mangroves by the ocean were in the midst of their frenzied dance. And a cold drop then fell on King's nose, and resigned he went back to Aurelia's mansion like a raindrop, you know? Like it looks like it was almost gonna rain, and the rain is very cold, but time to head back, because he doesn't want to get wet by cold rain. Time, bro?
12 minutes.
As soon as he got inside, he was greeted by a warm blanket that Gargantua had placed over his shoulder, and he patted her hand and gave a grateful smile, and he passed by the tea room where the guests were waiting without turning to look. Alberto frowned, and he said to the maidens, "You must forgive him. You know how Nages are." "No offense, your eminence, but we already got used to his eccentricity," said Agitia, the youngest of the court mages, and her raven eyes narrowed as she sipped her tea with disdain. And the maidens continued conversing and talking about King behind his back, as was tradition among courtly maidens. And as fans on the occasional advisory road, their studies and healing sickness, these court mages spent their time in blissful idleness. And Gargantua showered King from head to toe, and the doggy he still carried. And after grooming him, she dressed him in a gentleman's banya. And the sleeves were decorated with golden embroidery, and then she combed and perfumed his hair with water that smelled faint of lilac, and she then put it on his jewelry, and once she deemed him presentable, he waited another half hour before bothering to go see the guests, and when he came down, the maidens were having dinner with Aurelius and his granddaughters, and a chair had been placed for King and Gargantua, and after examining the silverware, Gargantua proceeded to eat with her hand. Like she looked at the silver, I'm gonna go eat with my hand. And then she went to eat with her hands. Chuckling, Agathia asked, oh my, why have silverware lit up if you do not know how to use it?" Gargantua pretended not to hear her as she continued to munch on her banana. Bananas were a rare delicacy in that region, and in spite of the price high, Aurelius never failed to have a banana on each plate if he had a naga guest, because he figured that apes and monkeys like bananas.
That's
right. That's monkeys. My banana for my monkey. Oh, what a jerk. Alright, time, bro.
10 minutes.
Whenever he saw them eating and stuff, it never failed to put a smile on his face. Like, he likes to watch the monkey-looking people eat banana because it makes him monkeys eating banana. After King had finished his meal, he asked Lydia, "How can I help you?" "We were wondering if you were in need of court mages," said Lydia bluntly. She knew that King had no patience for runabout way of nobles. I do not have a court." So no thank you," said King curtly. "How can you be a king if you do not have a court or a line of succession?" asked Agitia. The older mages always led the stupid questions to her. "I am what you call an elected king. All of my peers unanimously decided that I would become their ruler," explained King. Agitia could not repress a faint giggle, and smiling, King said, "I do not expect you to understand. Such unanimity is unknown amongst humans, and everyone wants to play king, but very few have what it takes. But no matter. I would add that we are always in need of magic users. However, we do not take in just anyone." "We are Caroline first in the craft," started saying Cassandra, when King rose his index finger to his mouth to tell her to be silent. "It's a question of honor, my lady," said the king, getting up. And seeing the maidens offended, King's self-appointed translator entered through the window, and bowing Talioki said, What he means is that he doesn't work with people who break oaths. Oh, said Lydia thoughtfully. And the slight twitch of her left eyebrow showed she was still annoyed. No, just that they just up and left their previous king in order to show loyalty to a new king, and they'd be like I'm not gonna what guarantee do I that you're not going to just up and leave me when a better prospect shows up, just as you did 5 minutes ago with your previous employer? It's like dude, you may be magic, but dude. After offering his helpful hint, Tadioki went on to bombard the ladies with flatteries and conversation. And Tadioki was a descendant of the Bonomos and the Tysiers, and most people were usually a bit unnerved by his extremely large, round, green eyes. And while Tadioki annoyed the guests, King went to sit down on the couch in his bedroom, and taking the ampoules from their makeshift bed, he proceeded to read to them one of his picture books. And the days passed, and he still heard no word from the Grey and their research. And one cold, frosty morning, he was surveying the beach with Gargantua, Virgil, Tadioki, and Patty. And the coast was exposed, and they were taking the chance to feast on the exposed mollusks. You know, it's like seashells. Like in some coasts when the water sinks down a lot, it reveals like those seashells, and then you can eat them. He saw beyond the coast one of those iron ships rising to the surface, and Virgil looked up and said nonchalantly, I guess we missed one. No, said Gargantua. And King and his entourage left the exposed coast, and they made their way towards the harbor. And borrowing one of the shipmates' telescopes, the group proceeded to observe the iron ship, and it was going up and down the water a lot, and at times it spun an arbitrary oval sail, which seemed to have the texture of tinfoil. And as the day progressed, some of the locals started gathering by the coast to gape at the bizarre antics of the iron ship. It was a novelty that it wasn't attacking, but its presence still unnerved them. While King was returning to the manor, he saw the strange aurora shimmering over the sky, and the sky then trembled and went back to normal. And when he came into the manor, there was plenty of fuss inside, and Garganta gave a piercing, inhumane screech, and all of the humans settled down. And when she had their attention, King said, There's no reason to panic. I think that our ship is different from the ones from before. How can you be certain? Asked Aurelius, entering the scene. And King then said speculatively, And not because I had the core materials of the 5 ships, and I sent one to my lieges to study and manufacture an iron ship of our own. And the ship we see is just my friend's experiment, fooling around with it. We should like to study it as well, said Lydia. Sure you would, said King curtly. Agita then insisted, if you have 5, then we would like to buy one. They are not for sale, said King, putting his foot down. Time, bro?
5 minutes.
Lydia noted how King referred to the ampoules as people, as they and not it. And the days passed, and the 4 white mages would not vacate the premises, and Aurelius pretended to play their little game. However, he was measuring and weighing them, and whenever he started being pressured to use their service, he remembered that they were dishonorable maidens, and he had no way of no guarantee of their loyalty because he knew that they were disloyal. So they just up and, you can't just be randomly swerving filthy to any random, especially when everyone knows that you just left your previous master to think. From time to time, one of the maidens would go into King's study to look through his picture books, and the Cormelians never took those books in earnest because they didn't consider them true grimoires. And the two did try to experiment on the ampoules. However, as King had half expected, the white quartz had refracted magical properties, and any magical attempt to crack the ampoules would refract back to the casters. And in the end, the maidens resigned on not understanding the mysterious ampoules. And since King was not guarding them, one day Lydia and her companions had the bright idea of performing a swap, and they took one of them. And they took the one that seemed the most lightless and easy to replicate. And while they started taking it, the colorful ampoules started emitting a hostile red glare. And Cassandra nodded and said, that one changes color when it is separated from this one. Curious indeed, said Lydia. Maybe there's a gem or something inside the flask, suggested Agitia. Catherine then said, let's just leave it behind for all we know. These are not the true cores. Good point. Only a fool will eat such precious items unattended, said Cassandra. After some minutes, the convention decided to take one, just in case it was the original, and later on they planned to send someone for the other ampules, and they made us less down, and a few days later they made contact with some highwaymen, and Cassandra made an attempt to hire them to rob King, and laughing the leader said, "You stole from the Monkey King? Look here, witch, you don't just steal from the Nages, alright?" "How come?" asked Cassandra. "Let's just say that we heard rumors, and till they willingly relinquish ownership of an item, they remain cursed by the power of their item mages," explained the highwayman. "Why are you telling us this?" asked Cassandra alarmed. "Because I stole from King once, and I am still paying for it. It is my compulsory duty to explain this curse till my debt to his society is paid up. Now good day to you, madam," said the highwayman. So then since he stole from Monkey King, now he has to tell everyone why he doesn't steal from them because he's cursed. He's cursed to be an exposition fairy. Effie. Time?
2 minutes 30 seconds.
After the convoluted explanation, the pupils of the bandit dilated for a second and then went back to normal, and from then on the bandits were unable to hear or process any conversation pertaining to the robbing of King, and noticing the bizarre effects of the curse made the maidens frightened, and instead of returning the item, they did a lavish blessing over the ampule to lift the curse. And this ampule was not cursed as it was immune to outside magical influences, and the third night fell, and a thin mist came with him, and the mist caught the maiden's attention because it was so unnatural. And it see through their barrier as it got closer with a mind of its own, and the core of the mist started pulsing, and with each pulse the maidens heard something which resembled the sound of a sword being sharpened. And the sound died, and with it followed deathly silence, and the silence felt more oppressive, and it permeated all one's surroundings. And Lydia opened her mouth to scream, but a vice-like grip covered her mouth, and she trembled when she relaxed when she saw that it was King. King released her, and then made a motion with his index finger to urge the maidens to be quiet. And the silence present departed, but the red bubbling mist remained. And King had the largest ampule open, and the red mist gathered around it and went back inside. And when the mist cleared, the court mages noticed a half-formed structure. And Agitia asked, "What is it?" "Nothing yet. You were lucky," said King, smiling. Taking the little ampule from them, he said, "Do try never to steal from me again, and from here on out you are considered an enemy of the Nages, and do not speak to us, nor reside in whatever town we choose to visit, and be happy that I spare your life, you thieving lots, and now be gone." Time?
Less than a minute.
Bye-bye, God bless.